Rome didn't collapse the way most people imagine. There was no single day, no final battle, no dramatic moment where everything suddenly ended. Rome fell quietly. Not when the barbarians reached the gates, but long before that, when its money stopped meaning what it once did. Empires rarely die from invasion first. They die when trust disappears, and nothing destroys trust faster than broken money. Rome learned this lesson 2,000 years ago. The uncomfortable question is whether we've learned anything since. For centuries, the Roman economy rested on one simple foundation: the silver denarius. First minted in 211 BC, the denarius was almost pure silver. Soldiers were paid with it. Merchants trusted it. Families saved it. The coin wasn't just a tool of trade, it was confidence in metal form. As long as people believed in Rome, they believed in its money. The strength of the empire and the value of the coin were inseparable. But empires are expensive machines. By the 2nd century AD, Rome was stretched thin. Legions guarded massive borders from Britain to the Near East. Wars were constant. Roads, aqueducts, and cities demanded endless funding. Tax revenue could no longer keep pace with the empire's obligations. Raising taxes risked unrest, so emperors chose an easier path, one that has tempted governments ever since. They began to quietly reduce the silver content of the denarius. Under Emperor Augustus, the denarius was about 95% silver. By the reign of Caracalla in the early 3rd century, that figure had fallen to roughly 50%. By the time of Gallienus, in the mid-3rd century, the silver content dropped below 5%. What had once been a solid silver coin became a bronze disc coated with a thin silver wash. The coin looked the same at a glance, but it wasn't the same. And people noticed. Once trust broke, inflation followed. Prices rose quickly. A measure of wheat that once cost a single denarius began to cost dozens. Soldiers demanded higher pay just to survive. Merchants stopped accepting debased coins, preferring barter or payment in gold. Local economies began to fracture. The more confidence collapsed, the more coins emperors struck, hoping quantity could replace value. It never does. This economic decay fueled what historians call the crisis of the 3rd century. Between 235 and 284 AD, Rome endured nearly 50 years of chaos. Invasions intensified, plagues spread, civil wars erupted. Emperors rose and fell at dizzying speed, some ruling only months before being assassinated. Beneath the political turmoil was a broken financial system. Taxes were collected in coins worth less and less. Farmers abandoned their land rather than pay. Trade routes collapsed. The economy reverted toward survival mode. Desperate to regain control, the government tried force. In 301 AD, Emperor Diocletian issued the edict on maximum prices, fixing the prices of more than 1,000 goods and services, from grain to wages. Violators faced death. The result was predictable. Prices cannot be controlled by decree when the money itself is broken. Black markets exploded. Legal trade collapsed. People learned quickly that laws cannot restore value to worthless currency. Eventually, Rome abandoned the denarius altogether. Around 312 AD, Constantine introduced the solidus, a gold coin of consistent purity. It restored stability and endured for centuries in the Eastern Roman Empire. But by then, the damage was done. The Western Empire had been hollowed out. Armies could no longer be reliably paid. Trade networks had disintegrated. Trust was gone. Rome did not fall in a moment. It unraveled. This pattern did not end with Rome. After World War I, Germany faced crushing reparations under the Treaty of Versailles. The government chose the same path Rome once had. It printed money to cover obligations, believing it could outpace reality. By 1923, hyperinflation was out of control. A loaf of bread that cost 1 mark before the war cost over 200 billion marks. Workers carried wages home in wheelbarrows. Pensioners watched life savings evaporate. Those with debts saw them erased. Those with real assets, land, factories, foreign currency, emerged stronger. Economic despair fueled extremism and helped pave the way for Hitler's rise. Zimbabwe followed the same script in the early 2000s. Facing collapsing production and rising debt, the government turned to the printing press. By 2008, inflation reached an almost incomprehensible level, 89.7 sextillion% per year. Prices doubled daily. Shops couldn't change tags fast enough. Eventually, Zimbabwe abandoned its own currency, forcing citizens to rely on foreign money. Once again, a government tried to cheat reality. Once again, ordinary people paid the price. Even modern developed economies are not immune. In 1971, the United States severed the dollar's link to gold. From that moment, the dollar became a fiat currency, backed not by a physical anchor, but by trust. Debt expanded. Money supply grew. Inflation became a constant background force. A dollar in 1971 could buy what now takes more than $6. The bills look the same, the coins look the same, but the value has been hollowed out. The trick never changes. Governments frame inflation as growth. They present debt as investment. They point to rising stock markets as proof of prosperity, even when most people own little or no stock. Like Roman emperors, modern leaders insist nothing fundamental has changed, while quietly extracting value from every paycheck, every bill, every account. What makes today different is scale. Rome's collapse was imperial. Weimar's was national. Zimbabwe's was local. Today, nearly the entire world runs on fiat currencies, massive debt, and central banks willing to print trillions at the first sign of crisis. The next collapse will not stop at borders, it will ripple globally. And as history shows, the cost will not be paid by those holding real assets, but by those relying on salaries, pensions, and savings denominated in fragile money. Rome's currency crisis teaches a simple lesson. Inflation is not an accident, it is policy. It is the silent tax that has broken empires for over 2,000 years. Real wealth is not numbers on paper or digits on a screen. It is land, skills, productive businesses, and resources that hold value when money does not. Stability is never permanent. Romans once laughed at the idea that their silver coins would become worthless. Germans in 1913 dismissed the thought of wheelbarrows full of cash. Zimbabweans believed independence guaranteed prosperity. Each time the same story unfolded. When money stops being real, society begins to unravel. Contracts fail. Trade breaks down. Armies dissolve. Governments lose legitimacy. The barbarians at the gate may finish the job, but the true collapse always begins inside the treasury. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but if you don't understand it, it doesn't need to. It will crush you all the same.